They shut all the drinking fountains off their schools and stuff. Because they have no water.
Call this meeting to order, City Council, tentative agenda, Monday, March 11, 2024, council chambers, call to order. Patrick.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Russell. Here. Morgan. Here. Cobba. Here. Agenda approval, consent agenda, approval of minutes of 2/12/2024, approval of financial statements as of 2/29/2024, approval of bills as presented, approval of liquor license, Stuart Scoop, approval of liquor license, Ruby's Pub and Grill.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, Patrick, how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Cobba.
Yes.
Okay. 4, White Pole Road, update, Josh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Some new council members I see. I'm Josh Seaver, I'm the county engineer. And with me today is Matt Allender. This is from McClure Engineering. It's a gentleman that helped us write the purchase grant that we applied for last summer. Okay. Fast. It did. It did. So we wanted to come and update you on status of a lot of the moving parts that are happening. So we applied, we were denied the grant. That was the federal system, the federal highway. We just had the debrief a week or two ago where they just go through and tell us that they might be good here, you would be here, not so good here. And we found out that cost benefit ratio is a large factor in the grant. We met all of the statutory requirements. But then the cost benefit, we had all of these benefits such as widening shoulders, rumble stripes, rumble stripping down the middle, signage, we had a wide variety of things. And those benefits have, they offset the cost. Well, they analyzed our grant application and said, well, no, you can't sequence all these. So they removed them. So when you take away our benefits, our cost benefit doesn't look so good. So that was, we do not agree with it because they said, well, you can't count these, this, and this. But one of them is even drainage benefits because we included the benefit for correcting the wheel path. So we can't count that.
So just go ahead. A quick question. So this was for the entire stretch, not just in Stuart, right?
Correct.
Okay, correct.
Yeah, and not just our project, because there were 6 projects submitted together. So
All right.
it wasn't just ours, it was the project as a whole. I'm glad you clarified that. Brought that up. Yes.
I was just going to point out from the methodology standpoint, one thing we found out was Iowa DOT prioritizes those improvements where the US DOT is a little pickier on what they do. So we did find out that the way they select projects in Iowa is a little more, I'd say, they prefer the improvements we laid out on the county road system than what the US DOT prioritizes.
And we've seen, and Iowa DOT has studies that show like these are very beneficial. These are worth a lot of money. They're worth a lot of value, but things you can't anticipate. It's the federal government.
Too bad they didn't give you guys a sheet of what you can and can't do in the application process. You know, if you would have known that, then you could have probably worked around that.
And we asked for, like, okay, point us to where this is. Well, it's the reviewers felt that it was this. They interpret this rule, or this code this way. There's just no way to.
Vague for a reason. They keep it vague.
Yes.
The two most pointed things we did touch on, this is a program just for rural applicants, and as the US Census defines rural is not how we in Iowa define rural. So for instance, one of the projects that won in the state was Interstate 380 between Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, and I don't think any of us would call that area rural. So it just comes down to the projects we end up competing against. When you try to improve a interstate versus a county road, the interstate has a lot more factors working for it.
So that was the rural. Everything went very good. We, competitive, but got knocked for those things. In the meantime, as you're aware, last fall, we did do some wheel route filling. We ran out of weather, and that's why we couldn't continue. So we do anticipate coming back and continuing going east, and working on some of that as well. And I've been talking to Jim and Forrest on that, and doing that as well. And in addition, the studies that were completed, that's done. We've been working on digesting those and finding a solution. We're thinking mill a couple inches, come back with like 4 or 5 inches of asphalt over the existing White Pole Road. There's 11 inches of asphalt over, generally like 11 inches of asphalt over whatever's left of the old concrete from the 30s. So there's a large pavement thickness there that we can mill and come back with high quality, durable, hot mix asphalt. So that's gonna be the repair for the main driving section, generally, as recommended. So that's all things that are in play. And then we just recently learned about a community project funding grant, and that's what Matt is gonna be here tonight to talk to you a little bit more about.
So community project funding is a new name for an old program. This used to go by the term earmarks. So these disappeared for about 12 years, and then in 2022, Congress brought them back. And what this allows is for our representatives in the state to pick projects that they have a passion on or that they see would benefit the people voting for them. So where the last application we put together was for the US DOT, they're evaluating that strictly on a merit transportation basis. So the review that Josh and I did with the US DOT is 45 minutes long on every single bullet point for how competitive we are against other transportation projects across the country. And what this community project funding does is where we might not have a project that can compete against the interstate, but we can go and show this project to Representative Nunn. The district we're in, he has 15 projects he can take to Congress and get earmarked funds, and we can spend them in less than 5 years. Those US DOT programs we go for, if we would have won this past summer, we would have roughly a 5-year wait till we were able to construct them. With this program, it is the same 80% federal, 20% local funding system. We can construct it in less than a year. It'll take about a year from the time we say, apply, Representative Nunn, please take this application. It'll take them about a year until they approve the funding. Congress is gonna work real slow, make sure that we don't get too fast. And as soon as they give the thumbs up, we'd have a year from that point. So if you want to think of it this way, in 2 years, the project could be improved. So the benefit of going after this system or this funding over the US DOT funding is we can play a little more of a politically friendly game than so much of a meets or a merit-based game. You are the western edge of Representative Nunn's district. 1 county over becomes Representative Feenstra, and he will not hand out any of this money. So Nunn has a goal to fund projects on the western side of the state since he knows that they won't see any of that through Feenstra's district. So he has an interest in doing projects outside of the metro. He likes the fact that this is tied to poet. He likes the fact that this is tied to a real community. He sees economic development. He sees investing in a small town that doesn't have the funds to ever do a project of this magnitude. So what Josh and I want to do is make sure you knew the process that was ahead of us if you were to give the thumbs up, and what responsibilities you take on. Should we go after the application and should you win it? So Congress just approved 2024's funding. They have not approved 2025's yet. That's the money we're going after. If you go after it, we'll have roughly 4 to 5 weeks to put an application together. And what that means for you is you have to have a scope set. So everything within the city limits, you have to know what you want to do with it. Is that something that you think your community is equipped to say what you want
I think
on
so.
White Pole Road inside the city limits?
I think Forrest pretty much has a plan on that anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I did speak with Forrest last week, letting him know that we would be here and this is what we'd be talking about. And yeah, he's in the know, he's in the loop. And yeah, my little recollection is now I'm thinking about this, I think Forrest does have some plans, so there might be some things we can.
One quick question here. So when you were talking about doing knowing that like 2 inches off from doing that, is that using this money or is this money would be something else?
And that's a good question. Because one of the things I wanted to mention or talk about is we've been talking about White Pole Road for
A long time.
a long time.
Well, to me, a long time.
Yes, even a long time.
I know it's been a long time.
And we have some money and we can do it, but we could only handle really the road is really all we'd be looking at with the funding that we have now.
Okay.
With this potential funding, we might be able to, the city of Stuart might be able to expand and incorporate some of those community development.
So really, would we be looking maybe right now, just doing the ruts and stuff until we see where this comes in?
So this summer, we could fill the ruts and help.
Okay, that helps.
Alleviate
Yeah,
some of
that
the-
helps a lot,
the
you know,
concern.
so we can get an idea of where this is at.
Yes, and that would allow us to do this, proceed, and also finalize development or design and start incorporating some of this.
So, okay.
So Josh, that doesn't include any drainage at R&D?
That would be proceeded, like, let's say that we don't go for this, that's gonna be the city's, cost there. And we, it could be incorporated into the design and over the overall project.
Yeah.
Sure. So, you can incorporate it with this potential or without.
Yeah, I'd say go for it, and, yeah.
And so then, we are on a little bit of a time crunch, for developing scope and stuff. Is there, point team or a team that we could work with to get some, quicker answers than, than council meeting once a month?
Forrest and I probably, Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Okay, so kind of like what we have been doing, and I've been in touch with Jim.
Because I think the ball's already rolling with Forrest on everything, so, yeah.
Okay.
I think that'd be good, just work with Jim and Forrest,
Good deal.
should be okay.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I think this has a good potential. And I've been in a group with other counties. It's a little bit different. So, and Matt's familiar with this. So,
Do you guys have any questions about the funding systems or what this might entail?
Do we have time?
Well, we're on the government schedule for hurry up and wait, so hey, get everything ready, but we're not ready to do that.
I appreciate that, yeah, I appreciate you guys coming in and letting us know and getting us up to date.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you very much.
All right, Matt.
Yep.
Okay, Ash?
We received a request for reimbursement of state tax. We own this one. We have our own way of reimbursing, which does not seem acceptable. But the request is higher than that. And we explained to Steve that he will be asked that we're gonna bring it up to the council to see if there's possibility of reimbursing more.
Do we have a request to reimburse I know every winter this is an issue.
It's a common practice, not
Yeah.
just this, you can say it's one.
Do we get a lot of people requesting reimbursements? I mean, do they come up to the city and?
Everyone's about that.
So I know we've talked that, you know, when you're plowing the snow and you're pushing a lot of it and it hits something.
Yeah.
I had a friend that worked for the DOT too, and he said, well, he gets those signs and snaps them, you know, but if they actually hit them, the state would replace them. Was this actually hit? Do we know?
Come on, Jim.
He claims it was. That's definitely his opinion. Normally, if we hit the box, we will repair it, replace it on our own. As a rule, we don't reimburse anybody for doing it. Normally, they call City Hall, they tell us, you know, hey, you hit my mailbox, or we know normally, if we hit one, we know we hit it. And, then we take care of it ourselves. And we put up a standard US postal box, you know, on a new treated post. And that's how we handle it. I normally have $30 in a mailbox by the time a post and a new metal mailbox. I've got about $30 there.
So I presume he's asking for it to replace this one to make it as it was.
He went to replace it on his own
Okay,
to get it to this point.
but it was like this. Then, I
Oh,
imagine.
it's way fancier than that.
Oh, is it?
Did we give him a mailbox, or he went out and purchased everything?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm
He,
saying?
yes, he did. He knew I had mentioned that. I said, when I get caught up, I said, I will come, you know, install a mailbox. And
So you said this is the old one, I
that's
take
the
it,
old one, correct.
and the new one you put up was
Oh, yeah.
better.
Well, I think just to be fair to all the other citizens, you know, if that's all we've been doing is $100.
That's our policy.
Keep
Still,
it probably.
the black one.
Yes.
Motion on that
I'll make, go ahead, Sheriff.
Okay, second is fine.
I'll second.
one. Patrick, okay, so how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Cobba?
Yes,
Okay.
Stay with the same.
Yeah. Now, C, are you talking about? the
Yeah, they're out. They're back out on a CRP fire.
Still,
We need to put that truck back out for bid again. Only we want to put a minimum bid on it when we advertise it this time. So that's just, we want to make you aware of that. Because hopefully we're gonna need the space for it here soon.
yeah, no kidding.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Municipal infractions, Blaine. A.
condemnation process.
Good evening.
Good evening. You want me just to go ahead, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
All right, Dwayne Dalen, City Attorney, Council. So I was asked to do a memorandum. I think you all got a copy of some different ways that the city could handle with nuisance properties, okay? Some of that depends upon what the particular nuisance is. So let's start with just a basic issue. So say we've got a property and they've got a bunch of junk on the property that they're just not cleaning up, or there's a junk vehicle on the property that they're not removing. So you guys have, your zoning officials who go around and check on these things, and they'll provide the property owner with a notice that you need to remove this junk or remove this junk vehicle. If they don't do it, then the city, the easiest way to handle that is through Chapter 50 of your code. You've got a nuisance abatement procedure. In that procedure, you're able to give an abatement notice to that property owner, tell them they've got, a reasonable amount of time. Let's say you give them 30 days notice to remove that particular junk. Also in that notice, it does provide that they have a right, normally within 10 days, to make a request of the council to hear their issue. So that way there's a due process to this, so that any citizen can come to the council and have a hearing regarding that particular junk that's on their property. If they don't provide notice to the city within those 10 days, then the 30 days run out, and technically the city can take action at that time, go to that property and remove the junk. That's what we call the simplest abatement procedure, okay? That procedure is located in chapter 50 of your code of ordinances if you want to take a look, okay? Now, let's go to a little more serious situation. What if we have a property that has some real major issues with it, some major zoning violations? If that's the case, then normally we recommend that we go to a nuisance municipal infraction procedure. The reason for that is when we serve a municipal infraction, it's actually considered a court violation. So the court then would set a hearing, and at that hearing then the city would request, you can request two things. You can request that the property owner have a fine for the violation. A first offense fine is $750, so I'm not talking about a real small number here. Second offense and beyond is $1,000 fine, okay? That particular code section is code section 3 of your code of ordinances, if you want to take a look at that. Now, the reason we use that procedure for a little more serious violation is because once that hearing has been held with the court, you actually get a court order saying, one, there can be a fine on the property, and number two, you've got a court order for the city to go in there and to remove whatever the junk or whatever the violation might be on that property. Okay, so the second route that you can go. Now, we can also go to a third route. We've got under 657A of the state code. So say you've got an old property, an old house or something that nobody's been living in, and they're not taking care of it, so there's broken windows, and it's just a major city violation. Now, a property like that, the city can actually apply through 657 of the code to take ownership of the property. So what happens in that process is a petition is filed with the court explaining what the violations are, and that notice is sent to the property owner. We also do a lien search, so if there is anybody that has a lien on that property, they're also notified. Also, the county is notified because a lot of these properties, they don't keep up with their property taxes either, so that becomes an issue. So all those entities are notified, and then the court sets a hearing after 60 days. They give them 60 days to comply. After that time, we get a court hearing, and the issue with that court hearing is if they haven't complied, then the city actually takes ownership of that property. Now, we don't jump into those without knowing what the problem is, because if that building's got to be taken down, city, you're on the hook. So that could be, a major cost. If it's not such a large cost, sometimes it's worth it because then the city can clean it up, and the city has the ability to sell the property or do whatever you want with it, and you have control of it. So that's the plus side of that. But we always recommend that we have the assessment done first of how much it's going to cost to clean up that property. All right. So those are kind of the three main issues, kind of from the smaller things that the city could handle on its own through the abatement process. If you've got kind of a middle-sized issue, then we kind of like to do the municipal infraction because then we get a court order. And then if you've got an abandoned property, then we like to use the state code section where the city can actually take over the property once it's completed. All right. Questions?
Well, at this point, Dwayne, I've used Marty Dairy up to Kenora on numerous properties cleaning up. And I don't, at this time, I've got a sealed bid from Marty Dairy. And he said to move forward, you needed that quote before we move forward on the property on Gaines and Sherman.
Okay. Yeah, I always recommend that the city knows what the cost would be up front before you take any action.
I'll open this and tell you what. He's done Shumus's twice, Coe's, Marty Forest property, and a lot of smaller ones for me over the few years I've worked with him. And I think he's fair on his quotes. So it's demolition of the trailer house, remove all debris from yard at 611 North Game, and haul debris to landfill, $6,200. Demolition house and garage at 420 North Sherman, haul debris to landfill, remove the foundation and concrete at 420 North Sherman. And these estimates don't include testing permits, asbestos, and any additional charge. But it's $6,200 for the one at 611 North Game, $7,300 at North Sherman, but then with the foundation concrete, it's another $1,900 on that. So it's $15,400 for both properties. And I talked to Jason, and he said that the foundation and concrete definitely has to be taken on Sherman, and then fill that whole area back in. On Marty Forest property, when we cleaned it up, we had a total cost of $28,000. And I don't remember offhand, Sheamus's property was twice, clean Sheamus's.
Those are the tough calls, that, you know, that's city money.
So obviously, that's where we're at now.
And I think the one on Sherman, I thought Jason said possibly go back against the owner of the property, but we've sent numerous notices to him and everything gets returned back here. He is around the area, out to Diamond Head or something. The one on Gaines, the ladies in the kerosene room, what would have to be assessed against taxes if the property sells.
We don't own these properties, right?
No.
No.
We haven't started any of this process that you, the 567. We haven't done that.
No, these have just been notices from your zoning official, and these property owners have all been notified previously. Yeah, but it's not the 657 process.
Right,
No.
This is from our commercial Jason, doing these. The Dwayne said he needed a quote to see if we can move forward on these, because we can't do the condemnation till we know what the price is and go through the legal hoops.
Right, I wouldn't want to file a petition and start incurring costs for you guys without knowing if you really want to pursue it or not.
But the one on Sherman, the first owner was working on it, put electric in it, and sheetrock without permits. The state inspector said I'd have to rip the sheetrock off to see the electrical wire, and then he didn't get any permits to pour the foundation, then he laid block. So everything's compromised on it.
Any of these property owners working with the city or Dwayne or anything?
No, well, the one on Gaines is a care center, and the one on Sherman, every time we give a notice, it just comes back to city. No response.
Is there any idea if any of these tests come back to it or remediate stuff? How much?
Well, Jim, do you know, like on codes and stuff, it didn't cost that much for the asbestos, did it?
Your asbestos testing normally will average between $500 and $700 for an average residence. But that one's been completely gutted. The trailer house on Gaines will be different, but the one up on Sherman's been completely gutted. So what they did there, I don't know. The trailer house would have to be done, and you're probably a $400 cost, I would just guess.
Before you burnt Stalter's house down, did you have to check asbestos?
We have to test everything we burn.
Okay.
So what was the final cost on that again?
For both of them, $15,400. And then, of course, Dwayne says possibly liens against them and everything else.
Hey, Jim, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Is this anything that the fire department can do?
No,
Okay. I didn't think so,
No.
especially that one.
definitely not
trailer.
Sherman, definitely not Sherman. The other thing is, if they do an inspection on the trailer house or whatever, and it comes back positive, then you've got the removal costs that have to be done by a certified contractor.
So we've basically been through all the steps and everything else, and we're not getting anywhere. I guess I'd say move forward with it, but that's my opinion.
And then the one will have to do an eviction process. The person's in there. Yeah, I didn't tell Marty that. He was shocked when he walked around the other day and somebody's inside.
So, and maybe it's a little too late for this since we've opened up the bid, but we've only got one bid. And is it common practice to get more than one bid for this? Is that?
If you can, sometimes it's hard to get bids on these types of projects, but
Because I
sure, if you can.
I didn't know if anything was going out for bid myself personally. But I mean, we've already opened it, so that's kind of,
That's what he was asking, can we open it up? But
we've let it out, so.
cemetery, we didn't get it out, so.
What's our plan? Because we would essentially, the city would own these 2 lots, right? We would open it up to sell them.
Mind that the one on North Gaines, the city owns the adjacent lot to the south. They're both narrow lots, so they could maybe be incorporated to one building site.
So we better get a couple more bids. Let's get a couple more bids, I guess. Is that something that we can, we're gonna have a special council meeting in 2 weeks? Can we
Yeah,
put
I
that
mean,
on an agenda too?
and I would agree with you, the only thing is that since we have a bid already, it's gonna be real easy for somebody to come in and $500
That's what I
lower,
said, they can just.
you know, that's unfortunate.
That's
I
why
mean,
I didn't want to open that.
and that, it's fine, I'm not blaming, I believe that's kind of normal practice, I'd like to see more than one, because you never know. But since we already got it, I think we're kind of stuck with it right now.
I agree, but this is what happened last year when we started dealing with the insurance thing
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, I know. So,
There's no way of seeing if there's liens on it until we start this process, correct?
Well, what we do is we have a lien search completed, so we can find out that before we actually file everything. So yes, we can find out ahead of time.
Because I think that would be, so I still think there's no, that special meeting, because then we know a little bit more else.
Okay, we got that special meeting in 2 weeks, Dave. We can talk about it then,
Okay.
if you're fine with that.
how about,
Yeah.
how about the testing part? Because I know, Jim said if it's in the trailer, can you do the testing prior? Can we find that out too? Or do we have to start the process and, I'm just trying to figure out where would that fit in this whole process?
I think technically you have to have ownership of it to be able to test it.
Okay, I was wondering. It's like, if we could get it done first, that'd be great, we could wait on one, get one done, and then go, but we gotta own it, we gotta own it.
Yeah, that's one of the deals where, once you take it, you're just gonna have to keep paying for it.
Yeah,
It's
we can sure do the
unfortunate.
lien searches though, ahead of time.
Okay, we table it to the 25th special meeting.
And are you okay if we proceed with the lien searches though?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
And on the code enforcement. Previous to 2009, there's limited code enforcement. From 2009 until 2015, Chief Rehan and I handled most of the residential code infractions with the help of Nadine, who sent out the notices. On November 10th, 2015, we decided we'd hire a professional code enforcer, Ed Leadham, to start the code enforcement program. Ed worked with Chief Rehall, contractor Marty Derrick, and me during the next 5 years. Marty has been hired on June 15th, 2016 to aid with the demolition and disposal of unwanted materials. We made excellent process with Hume Forest and Co's property. Unfortunately, Ed quit in 2020, and at this point, I've had a lot of hiccups, what I say, in code enforcement. Ash and Jim and I have talked about it, and I would like to see if we could change code enforcement in-house. Have Jim go ahead and do the code enforcement, and we continue with the ones we have. We got first notice, second notice, we got numerous third notices already. We got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 11 final notices. And what Jim said he would do if the council approves this, he'd actually just knock on people's doors and say, here, you've had your final notice. Some of these go back clear to June. And say, you got 7 days, if the council approves it, Tuesday he can start this process. And say you got 7 days to clean up your properties. And we've already got a contractor lined up to do these cleanups. He give us a quote on possibly how much it is to do them. But I think in-house we have a lot better working relationship, because what I'm running into is Ed Leadham used to meet me on site on a Saturday morning with the police officer. We do the code enforcement, clean up the property. Jason and Max said they won't do that. They won't come out. Well, if Corey sees this, and I see this and this, it's hard to say what needs cleaned up. We gotta work together. And then the last straw was, I went over for a first notice, and I asked her for the letter and the pictures. I was provided the letter or the pictures, but there's no letter. So I had to go to the property, let me see what's in the letter. Well, it's pretty vague. It doesn't say car, vehicle, bicycle, whatever. It's a vague letter. This process with Jim, he would take pictures, and it could work out a lot better if the council approves.
Are you said, I know you said he'd be knocking on people's doors for final notices, but he'd be handling the first notices, everything, right?
First notice, and then Sarah and whatever staff take care of all the pictures and sending out the letters.
So, Jim, any thoughts on that? Is that?
I've had the discussion with the mayor and with Ash. If I take this over, it's gonna be citywide. It's not gonna be pick and choose. It's gonna be everybody or nobody.
Well, how soon before you start knocking on our door and making sure our beds are made?
Hey, Harvey, no.
I just had a question, that's all,
But
just a question.
anyway, what
So
happened?
how soon then?
What
Is
happened
it-
before, Mike, is I've had people get the first notice, and they'll come up with a crumpled piece of paper at my door. I haven't been up City Hall, see the first notice. Well, this way, said I've given first notices. If you want my opinion, I'll go look at it, whatever. I've taken numerous pictures besides the code enforcement to have my opinion when there's a third notice, whatever, see what actually needs cleaned up.
It's very much change of direction, you just then have
Keep it
Jim do,
in-house.
well, you on the work day, you see what I mean? And then the money that we used to pay for code enforcement will be applied to the people who gonna do the cleaning.
Clean up.
Clean up.
$1,000 a month is applied to the.
I see.
And we might have to work it where I've got 11 final notices right now. If we get more, we might have to back off, say, well, we'll have to wait to get a little more money to do these.
So who decides if a car gets to sit out in my garage or in my driveway as parked or?
Harvey, you're not on the agenda.
I just got a
We're
question.
talking that kind of stuff. The police and the code enforcement do.
Well, why can't you answer some questions?
Sir, you're interrupting us.
You're interrupting. the whole meeting.
So,
If it happens again, Harvey, I'll have the police escort you out.
so do we have a backup?
City council.
If Jim's not available, do we have somebody that would take his spot?
Corey.
And-
I mean,
and
Corey's
have
one
you
of
guys
the
talked to him too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
work it together.
Okay,
And he's
okay,
looked at some of these properties.
perfect,
He'll know everything that's going on the same as I will.
perfect, okay.
Need a motion to change the direction. Moved by Cabo,
So can I
I'll
ask a
second
question now?
seconded by.
No, Harvey, we're having a vote here.
Moved by Cabo.
Well, you were talking about city codes and I
Dave, escort him out.
thought I
I
just
got
asked
it.
a question.
Escort him out.
We just talk outside.
Am I
We're having a vote. I couldn't.
hindered on my First Amendment rights?
Let's just talk real quick.
Okay.
You're taking away my First Amendment right to ask a question to the city
Yes.
council.
Dolan,
Yes.
Russell,
So I
Yes.
just want to-
Moyer.
Yes.
Okay. Number 6, request to vacate.
You said that's a hard act to follow. I put on my old lady spectacles here. Good evening, Mayor, Cook, and council members. My name is Christina Ernster. I'm speaking on behalf of my husband and myself, this is David. We currently live at 220 North Adair Street. I would like to propose that the city of Stuart vacate the narrow unused alley abutting our property on the south side of the property. Our home is in an area called Hollingsworth First Edition, which was originally platted per our abstract in 1876. At that time, roads and alleys were platted to potentially connect to a road west of the property behind our own in the event of future expansion. Since that time, and almost 150 years have gone by and no development has occurred, nor is any development being planned in the near future. Due to this, we feel that it is time for the city of Stuart to vacate this alleyway. Directly behind our home, to the west, is a vacant lot owned by the Tilk residents, and we do not anticipate them selling that lot to have a home built on their own backyard. In addition, the property behind their lot, which would separate their lot from the undeveloped Black Hills Street, is the Barley Farm and land owned by Jerry Dixon. We do not anticipate that either of these longtime family farms intend to sell this land to the city of Stuart for any future development. The alleyway has never been used by the public, nor the city, since we have owned the home dating to 2021 and nor any years prior to the ownership. And in the extremely rare event that Black Hills Street were to ever be developed, I'm sure you guys will have concerns about public safety. So if needed for public safety vehicles such as police, fire, or EMS, there's many more accessible roadways that would be better suited in our alleyway between the two outbuildings and several trees. And as you can see on this map here, I marked off with all the check marks. Okay, yeah, he can bring it up too.
Yeah, you can read that.
Yeah, so all those check marks are all additional access points that would be able to get to Black Hill Street, which would be much more accessible than a narrow alley that has two garages and trees in between. Because the city has never maintained that alleyway with mowing or snow removal, this indicates that the city nor the public has any need or desire to use this area. By the city owning this area, the city may also be subject to potential for liability in the event that anyone would become injured on this area. If the city were to vacate this area, they would still be able to access any city utilities if there are any with authorized easements. For almost 150 years of the city owning the unused alleyway, they have lost revenue which could have been generated by additional property tax from the homeowners who would absorb this area as part of their existing lots. The alleyway portion that we are discussing today, behind our portion, also separates the lots owned by the Tilk residents. Unfortunately, we have not had the opportunity to speak with them yet. My husband tried again yesterday. However, we cannot imagine that they would be opposed to our portion of that alleyway being vacated, as their portion of the alley is directly behind ours. The homeowners to the south of us at 204 North Adair Street, whose property abuts the same alleyway in discussion, currently use half of the alleyway to store their trailer, and we store our boat in that same alleyway. If this alleyway were to be vacated, both parties would be able to split this area directly in half, and they could continue to use their half on their side and we could use our half for our personal use as well. We have discussed this with these homeowners, and by my last message received from them, we were told they are working through what their ultimate decision will be. We are hopeful that they would agree with this, as a vacated lot would benefit them as well. So we feel that this would also be in their best interest, and they should have no logical reason to want this to remain an alleyway. Currently, we have a single car garage that is needing some inside repairs, updates, and expansion to become a double car garage. We currently are working with a licensed contractor to get the permits, and we recently had the area resurveyed on February 24th to verify the lot pins and determine property lines. Per city code, we must be 3 feet from the current alley line. The garage is intended to be built with expansion toward our home versus the alleyway, but it would be beneficial for our project to be able to begin the corner point of the new garage on that existing property line. This would allow for us to have a more aesthetically pleasing appearance of the garage layout, allow us to have an easily handicap accessible walkway between the garage and the home, and make sure it's with any future building codes. In addition, we have seen that the city has vacated several alleyways and roadways in the past. So this is something that the city is able to allow and has done frequently in the past. And we have some examples there. As you can see, we have made just a handful of reasons that would be in the best interest of the city of Stuart to vacate this alley. To recap, the city nor the public use this area. If the city agrees to vacate, this will not cause any undue hardship for anyone. The city is not currently making money on this area with tax revenue, so the city would not be at an economic loss. If the city vacated this area, they would no longer be liable for injuries sustained in that area. The city would still be able to access the area for utilities as needed with easement. Once again, for public safety, the city still has multiple access points with roads to Black Hill Street in the rare instance it were ever to be developed. And if the city vacated this area, this would benefit the homeowners involved and foster a better working relationship with these homeowners and with the city. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak today and for taking the time to listen to our very valid and logical points. We feel that it is in the best interest of all parties involved to vacate this narrow and unused alleyway as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your consideration, and do you have any questions for us?
Did they say you wanted to say something, Kristen?
Whenever you guys done with the questions.
Thank you for your presentation. That
thank
was,
you.
Have you guys been to the P&Z,
What's a PNZ?
the planning and zoning?
We have not been planning and zoning. I know our contractor is working on getting permits for garage.
yeah,
And then we did have a survey done. It was actually the same surveyor that surveyed the lot in 2015. I think Mike Johnson owned the property at that time. So it was the exact same surveyor came out, and then he found the access points and the pins.
and maybe that's what I think we have to look at first.
You look at
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
You okay with it? You okay with it?
I figured that, so.
Dick, can I say something before you guys vote?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Come up with them.
Sure.
I don't.
Do you want us to sit?
No,
Yeah,
Okay.
I got you comments.
Okay, so I printed off a picture that's a little bigger, a little easier to see. Our trailer does not sit on the alley. We were 3, maybe 4, maybe a foot, we'll give it a foot, over the property line into the alley, and my husband moved the trailer so that way we are not in the alley, just for reference. You'll see in the picture, it's there. Somebody asked me about the pine tree. Pine trees are our property. We don't want that to go anywhere. We don't want the alley to leave. I want the alley to stay. That's our only access to our garage. So we would really like the alley to stay. It is my understanding that as a property owner, we have the right to ask the city to put millings in to develop the alley if we should wish. We expressed that to Jim when we first bought the property. He just hasn't had time to put the millings in. So I was under the understanding it was gonna stay an alley. And then also you'll see it on the lines, and as the survey marks, half their driveway and part of their garage is in the alley. And just from previous experience of being on the council, everybody would have known that from the abstract. We told the gentleman out at Womble, you had the abstract, you knew where your property lines were. The survey was done by Mike Johnson in 2015. I talked to him this morning about it. There's a light pole behind the garage, so I don't know what's gonna happen with that. It can't be moved. That's what supplies my power along with Tilt's power. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. But if ultimately you guys decide to vacate it, we wanna purchase our half. But it is our request that you don't vacate it. We wanna keep the alley.
Our
Thank you.
surveyor actually found a pit, and what you see from the Beacon website, from the aerial view, is not entirely accurate, and that should be listed in 2015. Here's another picture. So the pink spray paint is his actual spray paint. He found the actual pin. You can see the hole in the ground. And so he told us that that aerial view is not accurate, but the actual pin is right there.
So this line here
Yeah,
is
so let
more
me
to
see.
the south, right?
Yeah,
Is
let
that
me
it?
put my glasses on here.
And maybe I'm looking at the wrong property. So there's north of there.
Yep, so this is a dare.
And there's the alley.
So actually, so where the pin line is actually here, if this is not correct,
This should be.
and then he says it
further
goes 20 feet this direction.
this way.
Oh, sorry, actually.
No, that's
My opinion on this, we've had a lot of councils come and go. Some
See
councils
where the pin is?
approved closing alleys and streets.
You see where the pin is? The pink is not actual spray paint.
North of your place closed 2 alleys.
Correct, there's a road and an alley
And
that was.
Tilk's tried to close theirs, and the P and Z did it. The town was set up for future growth. At one time, the town of Stuart was looking at Black Hills there, and I got a real problem to keep closing a lot of these alleys and streets. You said you don't think the people over west would possibly sell. We've got 85 homes out here with Womble and Tiffin both ground for houses. So you
Yeah.
can't say never, never.
Well, I don't think it would be never, but I don't anticipate in the near future that the Varley family or Jerry Dixon would sell
But
their
a lot of
land
these
for
are
housing development.
for the personal gain of the person that's living there, not for the benefit of the whole town. And that's what we're looking for. That's the way this comprehensive plan was set up in the 80s. To look at the whole town to develop. But I don't have a vote. The council can turn it over to P and Z. Matt, you got something? Come up to the microphone, Matt.
My,
Since you're
because
involved.
my point is there's still multiple access points to Black Hills that would be much more suitable than a narrow alleyway between 2 garages and some trees.
Matt Funk, the
Hi.
Economic Development Director. I just ask that you maybe consult with your Economic Development Department before making any decisions. So that's all.
And Matt says he's got a lot of interest on different places around town besides the new development.
Which is absolutely fair, and we're totally fine with you guys reviewing that. So we are interested, obviously, it would be preferable for the city to vacate. If you don't, and you wanted to sell it, we'd be interested in purchasing it. If they wanted to go 50-50, if they don't wanna go 50-50, we could purchase it and allow them easement for whatever their use would be. So we're open to multiple suggestions, so we're pretty easygoing, compliant people, so we'd be open to multiple opportunities.
Can we, what's your guys' thoughts on it?
Well, I was just gonna say, first of all, I did like your presentation. Very well thought out, appreciate everybody else's comments too. And I know, some of us on here have been read the riot act by some citizens about considering closing streets and it's, or even alleys, and it's very, very, well thought out there too. So, you probably won't, I can't say that, you might not get an answer tonight. You know, we may, look at this other stuff, and I think it would be in the city's best interest to table it, not just say no, but just table it. I think Matt's got a valid point, to see what he's got going on out there, and then get all the facts. And, you know, we got a great presentation here, we can consider all those facts too, and just decide.
Gosh, doesn't that have to go to P and Z to begin with?
First, they come and give the concept. If the council is okay with the concept, doesn't have a problem. we would refer it to the planning board. But if the council has to find out from the economic development director, or find more information, we'll study that before we give it to the planning board. But the decision usually, if the okay with the concept, we refer it to the planning board. Now we're gonna find out more.
Just a
before
little bit more information. I know you give us a lot and stuff. It's just, we need to get everything. You know, because I would never have thought until I said something, you know, well, maybe we should check.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we have it. So,
And then as far as like the aerial view being incorrect versus the actual pins that they found.
sure.
So I would hope that you take that into consideration as
Yeah.
well, that
Oh,
that's
yeah.
where the actual pin is.
Yeah.
So that you
Yeah,
did find, and it goes 20 feet to the south.
Okay. 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
The alley's 20 feet wide is what we have been
Mike,
told. Yep.
you're more than welcome to come out. I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. I'm sure they're
Yeah,
okay. If you guys
totally
wanna
fine.
come out and walk it,
It's still
By all
spray
means.
painted where the surveyor spray painted it.
and
on
Josh
there.
has now, staked 20 feet from their property pin to the,
Okay,
put stakes out so we can find our property pins
Yeah.
exactly, but it,
all right.
Yeah, so be more than happy to come out and take pictures or, do whatever you
All
need
right,
to.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Appreciate it.
Do we need a motion?
No, that would just take it. Hey,
We table item number 6 of Graceful Alley. We table.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 7, fiscal year.
Okay, wait, hang on a second. Do we need a motion or we don't need a
No,
motion?
okay.
We don't, okay.
Yeah, we did. 7, fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, city audit. We see the city audit takes, do an audit as we always have. If you have any question, I'll be glad to answer. If not, we can
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Morgan? Cobal?
Yes.
Okay, 8, Marketing Main Street, Nate Lester.
Good evening, everyone.
My name.
So you should have probably in your packets the proposal for this round. It's pretty similar to last year. I think, some of you guys have experienced personally, but I hope at this point everybody's maybe heard people around town talk about these videos, seeing the benefit of why we did it, why I proposed last year. So I would like to continue doing it again next year and years in the future.
Looking at the metrics part of it, that's phenomenal.
And that's only 3 videos. So those numbers are from before we posted, before from last week. So yeah, I agree. I think we're getting a ton of eyeballs and, good eyeballs. And
Yeah.
It's increasing, opportunities for the businesses, for residents of the new development, which that really was the goal the whole time, was to promote, first and foremost, people want to promote the new development and area out there. And then second, really promote the downtown and just the growing momentum. And I think we've done that well.
Doing very good. And just for the audience, I was just gonna share that, on the videos and everything that Main Street has done, on Facebook, it has reached over 7,200 people that they have visited the city of Stuart's site, 7,200 people. It has actually reached 23,000. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you can figure then similar numbers for this 4th video. So those numbers will be up for the year.
Sure.
Now, on that data, do you have any location-based data to how far out that reach is seen? Or
I could dial in and find more, yeah. Part of if there's an issue with this, we didn't necessarily designate any money for ad spend. That's something that Director Funk and I have talked about is we wish there was additional funding to cover some boosted or some paid ads, so that we could reach more of Des Moines or Omaha or get more of a regional reach. Because right now we're just relying on just the social network aspect of Facebook or YouTube to whatever extent. We've discussed some opportunities or some options to get ad in addition to just the cost of videos. But that obviously that hinges on approval of another year.
I got a couple questions if you don't mind. A year ago, the proposal that we got for marketing, that included a certain number of hours, I believe, as well as some smaller videos and or other social media postings. And so this proposal is just simply the videos, which are awesome. The videos are great. Do great work, but we also, I'm just wanting to make sure that everyone's up to date. This is an increase in money, but it's not the same as last year. And I don't know, I'm not a social media person, so I'm the horrible person to ask on any of this stuff, but I just wanna make sure we're, making sure for the amount of money we're spending on marketing that, it's a significant amount of money, for only videos and not doing the other stuff, or is that included?
No, you're right. It is a temporary increase over last year. Part of that being, if you go with a Des Moines firm, your videos are going to be anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. The company I worked with prior to going on my own would charge a nonprofit $8,000 for a similar video. So, excuse me. We're at, I think, 3,900. I think is what the cost comes out per video right now. That will though still be. This is another kind of discussion that I've had with Director Funk is ultimately where does the responsibility land on to promote things on Facebook? Some of that, council minutes or agendas, any board vacancies or just any news that needs to come from the city. And I think really that's an ongoing discussion ultimately where that falls. Anything related to the videos, I'm always happy to help push that and promote it. But as far as being just a general kind of social media manager for the city, would be happy to do it, but that's not necessarily part of this proposal.
Can you refresh us on what last year's covered? Because we don't have, unless somebody has a copy of.
Ultimately, it was four videos, four of these like large scale, 2 to 3 minute videos.
And what sites did it include it being posted to, or is that left up to?
Facebook and YouTube, really.
Okay. So that's the same here.
Yeah, nothing as far as like distribution is any different. Everything is operating the same. Last year worked, so I don't necessarily want to.
I kind of think that's where Dave was going with this thing. He seemed to say there was.
Yeah, last year, I looked at the minutes. Last year, the proposal included, it was something like a minimum of 12 hours per month directed towards the city, and maybe these take that, I'm just thinking 3 or 4 videos, 3 months, 36 hours, but I also thought it said something about having also short videos and social media postings in the proposal.
Yeah, we did, like a weekly, like an Instagram reel type video. And I'm perfectly okay with continuing to do that. I mean, that's kind of just in the editing process, 10 to 12-second snippets. So that's, we can include that again. That's fine. That's no really extra work.
So is it easier to say that it would mirror last year's proposal? It's just going to have an increase in cost.
Yes, if you read through it, the proposal is a lot of copy and paste from last year. I just added the 10%. And then I did give an option if you wanted to do more videos. I think part of the, with last year, with going for 4, I wanted to establish a routine, I guess, and get people used to looking at the City of Stuart's Facebook page for information. And I think now from the numbers there, you can see that people are checking out the page. One of the things that we see with those numbers is obviously there's a huge spike the week that we publish the videos, and then it kind of comes back down. In a perfect world, right? Perfect budget, unlimited time. You're posting all the time, and so that you kind of level out some of those peaks and valleys. I know it's not perfect budget and unlimited budget, but
I would love to do more videos, or at least have some other plan to keep content going to the page. And again, maybe that falls to somebody else, I don't know.
And Ash, this comes out of TIF money.
Yes.
I mean, again, I'm just talking money here and being stingy, but should we notify Chip on this? I mean, I just know our TIF money's tight, or until for at least a few years here. I'm not there in person, but I'm just making sure we dot all our i's and cross all our t's here.
Chip can hear you right now.
Chip can hear you, he's at the meeting.
It's not a significant change, Dave, so it should be workable.
It should be workable.
If that's a concern, how about hotel room?
I think we tried that, we couldn't succeed. So we didn't want to participate. In the last year, we talked to them, we talked to the utility. So I don't know, try again, we can.
We were a little bit later last year too, I mean, it was May when it got approved.
Well, he's thinking about approaching the Chamber of Commerce or the utility, who tell them to tax money and all this stuff, to participate.
And instead of the city footing the whole bill, I mean, just, and again, maybe this is a normal thing, spending, 15, 16,000 on marketing, but it's new for us because we just started last year, I don't know, it's a lot of money for me. The videos are great, they really are.
Right.
I just don't wanna know, I don't know what, our allowance is for marketing, how that's justifiable. I'm not a social media buff, so I can't put, real numbers to that or anything like that. I don't know if anybody else would be willing to go on board with that, to share the cost or how we wanna look at that. I don't know what it would, like Nate said, it might be double the price to look at outside to do it. I don't know.
I might suggest if we approach the utility board again, since they have, it's a new board basically, maybe they might be more willing. It never hurts to ask until you get a definite no, and then we could consider.
I can approach, we have a meeting coming here.
Yeah,
Thursday night.
We have it on Thursday.
I can approach.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't have anything to lose there.
I will approach him on Thursday, and we'll have a special meeting on 25th. We can get it. We can get it.
Anything else for Dave?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, now, Deputy County Hazard Mitigation.
This. She's going to hear, she talked to the people that she needed to talk to, private and this stuff. It just was a council talk who, for them to do the recognition. So we need a motion for that.
So moved. Moved by Morgan.
I'll second.
Second by Russell. Okay, how do you go? Patrick?
Yes.
Roller.
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Morgan? Hello?
Yes.
Resolution 10. Okay. I see that's called. 2404C, we're setting a date for March 25th at 6:15 for this public hearing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Second by Morgan, how do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Bubba?
Yes.
Okay, 11, resolution number 2405C, be March 25th, 6:15.
That's the same,
Same thing.
same thing, just moved by Bubba.
Second by Russell, how do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Bubba?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break.
Okay, good.
Some of these other gonna take a bit.
Sure.
Excuse me.
Slide over one chair. Might be better. Wait, come on. Come on. Get mine.
I did.
This one. Sure.
I want to do quick use everything. I'm like, you're right out of the we did $10,000. Either way, I don't care.
I've never told because it came up in the city council meeting, they would let him go out of his contract, and he would just get his. Yep. Or we would deal with whatever. 3,500 bucks.
Right there in the road. Right there in the road, we made a deal.
I think you said you had offered, right? I didn't think you said you ever did anything.
Right there on my clock. You know how I can compare it. I had it right there. So we're also I got $1,000 out of it. I wouldn't sell
That's the information from us. One from the United Risk Service, which is our current provider. Working insurance, state street insurance, and we only received the rate from one company, United Risk Services, with 127,883, which is compared to last year, the increase is not significant. So my recommendation is to go ahead and approve the United Risk Service proposal.
Is that who the utilities goes through too?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And that's the reason
Yeah,
we get
that's fair.
authorized.
So we had a lot of hail damage this last year and they paid out great on all our buildings.
So I appreciate you looking at bids, and I'll make that motion to go directly.
You have a question? I just, is that the increase overall?
Yeah.
On the last page?
Okay, moved by Dolly,
I'll second it.
second by Kirkpatrick. How do you vote, Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Kavah.
Yes.
Okay, 13 EMS committee, are you doing this, Mike?
I can,
Item 11.
Sean is, I don't know, it's done, but
Yeah, we did.
we met today, I visited, it was a meeting with.
Hey, Dick, he's right there, I just saw his legs.
He's coming, you can read this until he shows up. Met with the city administration in Bahura and the director, fiscal director in Bahura. And so I will actually say until he comes. Okay.
Up to the microphone, Sean.
Oh, hello.
You're up. I was just updating them on the meeting we had today at 2:00.
Okay.
Visiting with the
How'd that
city
go?
administrator, and we certified briefly what we had, and they read it now. So you can make a presentation as soon as they get done.
Can I see that whenever you're up? You want this back?
I think before Sean even goes, I think this is essentially kind of to update the other council members on, so things we've been working on. Sean has been, working on, revising and, working with Ash and working, to get this moving. So we thought we maybe owed it to you guys too, to see like, what's going on, what's happening, keep you out of the dark, bring you to light a little bit. So if you have any questions or anything like that, I mean, I think we said last time, Mike said that we would, definitely get something in writing for you to look at, kind of see which direction we're going.
And it's not to make a decision on what you have in front of you. This is a work in progress. Sean knows, as everyone on the committee knows, nothing's gonna probably be settled for the foreseeable future on it. But it goes in accordance with the motion that was made when the committee was formed, was to get, we kind of want to draft, but we're selling for the information, so you guys, if you have questions, you can definitely ask them. If you don't.
Yeah, I was still gonna meet with Idel and the committee's meeting. We just knew with the progress without having to get into details in the whole.
Right, which, per, kind of her update here, that's kind of an important part. I wouldn't necessarily call us competitors. We need to work together to provide the service to the county as a whole, Panora, Adair, anybody in the county. But we just need to make sure that I sent an email, hopefully you guys got it right, that, a lot of this kind of needs to be kept at least in-house until, we get to a point that it's something that we bring before you guys that would already be potentially submitted to the county or otherwise. So, having some of these open discussions essentially gives anybody else, kind of when you talked about the bid, you open the sealed bid and then you're like, well, should we get more bids because we only have one? Well, you know what I mean? That kind of makes it really easy for somebody to come in and say, well, I'll do it for $100 less. And is that really fair, to them or, even the city for that matter? Sure, you could save $100, but is that the right process? Who knows? And that was that's what Steve Brick told us to do. He said, send emails out, make sure everybody keeps updated, and that's what we want to do. We're going to do our best to keep everybody updated, as information becomes available, but this really just is not the venue to do that, if that makes sense.
Essentially. Okay, if there's no questions, we move to B.
Yeah, obviously this is something that needs to come up.
Thank you. Professional services agreements, conference, Chip.
So I think you have a summary document that I put together that is at your, I think it was in the packets, and if not, there's an update that Sean provided to that's at your seats tonight. So this would handle our work on the EMS committee. It's, I think I've been part of 4 meetings so far at this point, and probably have about 20 hours into it so far. So it's just, it's for your consideration. We're happy to continue working on it, myself, and happy to answer any questions on it that you might have.
Thank you for all your work.
I think the agreement's in the packets too, it should have been, so, I believe, so.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion.
I was gonna move that we accept that agreement.
Yes. Okay, moved by Kaufman. Second by Morgan, how do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Kavah?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for your work, Chip.
Thank you.
14, Stuart, Police Department Chief Recall. And Katie.
And Katie.
Don't be shy, Katie.
Okay, so I put an update in the packet. You guys had any questions about the first item, and then I'll move on to the second if you don't.
That kind of what he's referring to the camera.
Yeah,
we're going where? It's about now to be installed by April or something. So, we're going with the flow, so everything looks fine to us unless you have any question.
I think that was the most important thing, kind of just see where we're at.
Yep.
You know, so we're looking at April kind of.
And there's just a lot of steps, you know, a lot
Yeah,
of
it's all the DOT and all this.
revising things.
Yeah.
and
So-
lots of stuff.
Sarah and Dave are working very good together on that subject.
Easy peasy.
D,
Okay, so B, the school resource officer program. So I did put some information there. I hope you guys had a chance to read everything, but, you know, essentially, a couple years ago, we started this as a part-time program. I think, as any of you that have kids know, it's turned into an incredible program. And kind of, in our area, it's kind of one of the, you know, we were kind of ones that spearheaded this, really. I mean, obviously, this is something you see in metro areas and bigger cities, but, you know, we kind of found a way to do this in a way that worked for us, and I think it's been a huge, tremendous success. With that said, over this last year or maybe a little more, we've really started to see that there's a huge need for this to increase. And I think the school would agree with that. Just some of the things that are coming in, the call volumes at the schools, things that our SRO is dealing with. You know, she's doing this on a part-time basis on her days off. So she's working full-time for the city, and then on her days off, she's putting in, you know, those hours to do this, which is a great thing. But she can only handle so much, and it's getting to a point now where I think her workload on the SRO side is too heavy for her to do that on her part-time days. So we talked to the school board at the last meeting just to kind of have a feeler of what they would be willing to do if we did have some full-time partnership. And we had a sample agreement that basically spelled out, I think asked for 75-25, and they kind of countered with a 2/3, 1/3. And the point was brought up that, you know, if you look at the days that school is in session for the year, it's more of a 2/3, 1/3 split. And so they thought that was a fair value, that they would cover 2/3 of the program if the city were willing to cover 1/3 of the program. Any questions or concerns about this? We're here to discuss it, and Katie wanted to be here to kind of give her input and on the program itself or what an SRO does, because I think there's a lot of misconception on, I think a lot of people think that SROs are just kind of there to you know, be friendly and work on community policing, and that's definitely part of the job. But she's handling things like, you know, sex assault cases that come in or child abuse cases that are coming in. She's building trust with these students so that when they are victims of a crime, they can come to a law enforcement officer and say, hey, this is going on. And so we've seen it, you know, morph into this big thing. And I think it's really positive. The other thing I just want to mention real quick, we've actually seen this kind of spread. And so now you look at all these other cities like Van Meter, and Greenfield's looking into a program. They haven't done it yet, but Van Meter's done it, Earlham's done it. So communities our size are doing this. So, and we were kind of the first to start with a part-time version, but I think it would be really beneficial to go full-time, so.
Couple of things.
Yep.
Thank you, Officer Katie, is what everybody knows you by. You do a good job out there. I think this is really important, considering what happened in Perry. I think we're gonna see more of this pop up in school districts. I do have a question. It states here that the Stuart Police Department will provide a police vehicle assigned full-time. Is that saying that we need to purchase another vehicle for us to start thinking about?
I mean, it would definitely, ultimately, at the end goal would be to have a vehicle for her. We've discussed, you know, different options that may or may not work. I think if we had to put that on the bottom of the priority list to get this done, I think we would obviously be in favor for that. We did look at, you know, we didn't just throw this together with a lot of other programs around the state, and there's really no set standard. You can find some contracts, and I brought a bunch of them with me, Some contracts, 100% is paid for by the city. They're providing vehicle, all the expenses for uniform and equipment, plus the salary, and the school doesn't pay anything. Then we've got other agreements where the school pays 100% of everything. Vehicle, well, we haven't found one that the vehicle is included, but they're paying for the salary and the equipment. And then you've got all these differing 50-50, 1/3, 2/3, 3/4, 1/4.
Sure.
So there's a whole mix. We haven't found one agreement yet, and I'm not saying there isn't one, but we just haven't seen it where the city, or where the school pays for the vehicle. And I think a lot of that is mainly because it's a police vehicle. It has to be ours.
Right.
And it would be used in not just, driving her to and from schools, but if there's an emergency, she would have to respond.
And you spelled this out in here really well. I went over this a couple of times. And the school is, I read what you requested, that there be an office provided, desk and all that, and they were totally fine with everything. Okay.
Actually, they already have an office for me. I've
Oh,
had it for the last
okay.
couple years at the high school, so
Okay,
I'm actually just
perfect.
the guidance counselor.
Perfect.
So I have
Okay.
a main base. Right now, he's not in there very much because I'm usually in the classroom or where I need to be.
Sure.
But they've already given me that.
Now, my next question,
Can I touch on one thing real quick, just because you brought it up? So, the other thing in the contract that you'll see is there is an exception there where she's allowed to leave if there's an emergency, something like that. So a lot of people might ask, well, how does this benefit the city? This sounds like it's just benefiting the school. In the event I think we have it worded police emergency, she's allowed to respond to that emergency. So essentially what this does during the day would double our workforce. The farthest she might be is Redfield, but that's still a response. Right now, our nearest backup might be 20, 30 minutes away. So it does provide an additional benefit to the city during an emergency. But the other way this works is it goes the opposite way if there's an emergency at the school. So currently we have, one day officer on duty. They might be there within a few minutes, but the next nearest deputy or officer might be coming from 20, 30 minutes away. So if there were, God forbid, some major mass casualty event at school, we're going to have one officer there quickly, but I can't guarantee you how soon another officer will be there. With this program, Monday through Friday, any day this session, we would automatically have two officers, the furthest being Redfield, to respond. It's also a deterrent, obviously for the safety reason, just having an officer that's bouncing in and out of schools. If I was a bad guy trying to plan something bad, that would definitely weigh on my decision if I knew that there was an officer in and out of that school at any time. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
you're totally fine. Since we do share, the school district is in Dallas County as well. Does Dallas County provide any help at the schools too for an officer or anything, or is it just strictly?
They have a great partnership with her, and they definitely are there for all sorts of things. There's no agreement though in place that they would provide that for.
Sure.
Those.
That's a good question, Corey, because I was gonna say that too. She would be essentially half-time outside of Stuart in Dallas County.
Yeah.
Correct.
During the school year.
Correct.
So I presume you'd be backfilling that position?
So to do this, yes, we would, and I think it's kind of a complicated thing, but if you look at that attachment on the backside, the attachment A or addendum A or whatever it's called, so obviously there would be some cost to this, but if you take that cost, then essentially what it does is it would allow us to have some room to hire a fifth officer. So not only would it benefit our city in the sense that it would give us two officers during the day, one would be responsible for schools and the other wouldn't, but it also would allow us to finally have that fifth full-time position. I know that's, depending on how you think about it, that can be kind of a thing to think about, but I would just point out that if you look at the FBI statistics on how many officers there are per citizens in a city, Cities under 10,000 people, they say it's 4.2 officers per 1,000. We're roughly 2,000 people in our city, so that would put us on average nationwide 8 officers. We're currently at 4. If you look at some similar cities, even in Iowa, that serve similar populations, they're at 5, 6 officers. We're at 4, and we had the, I mean, just a couple years ago we were at 3 with that population. So it wouldn't be unheard of to see a city this size have 5 officers. That's actually closer to the norm than it would be having 4.
So I'm pretty simple at math. So if we're still paying 33%, a new officer would come in at what? Is it like 45 they start and then they bump up? Is that how it was?
I think the structure currently is after the 4 years, it's 55. So yeah, there's a
But they bump up, right? They start lower and I think we bump them up.
Yes.
So let's say, if I say 45 and then we're paying 34 or 33. So, and then she's full-time at the school, so not doing any patrolling for Stuart, right?
Just during the school year. So there would be, obviously, the summertime, she would then fill in, which if you do the math on like vacations, things like that. So currently right now, if I take a vacation in the summer or one of the officers takes a vacation, we're paying someone overtime to come in and fill that position while they're gone. So that would take some of that cost away right there. If because we'd have her available during the summer to fill in for some of those vacations, we wouldn't have to pay the extra. But there is a cost to it. This is not something that we would get for free. I mean, obviously we would have to pay the 33% to have an officer in the schools. But what I'm saying is if you take that 33% that we would be paying, that's the only additional cost we would have, because the remaining portion of that the school is covering would actually cover the 5th officer. So we would get a 5th officer for 33% of the program. If, let's say, the alternative is, let's say we just waited and a year from now or 2 years from now, whatever, we decide, hey, we need a 5th officer, we'd have to pay for 100% of that. So it would be the 55 plus benefits, that kind of stuff. So it'd be $70,000, $80,000 to have that 5th officer.
But I mean, like you said, she'd be able to respond if there's an emergency. Because obviously, if somebody barricades themselves in a house or whatever, even the nighttime officers, you're probably calling them out.
Sure, a lot of times they're closer to respond than maybe a deputy from coming from clear up north. So, so in the contract, that's what it includes, is that during police emergencies, she would be allowed to be recalled from the school and assist in that event. But her priority outside of emergencies would be at the schools.
Is there a reason, just out of curiosity, that Menlo, Dexter, and Redfield, would they be able to help chip in since we cover a 4-town district?
I mean, it's a 2080 agreement, so I don't think that there would be anything excluding them to be able to do that.
I'm just thinking it may help with costs.
And do we know how much we spend on overtime, like you said, during all these other events, where if we had that other officer, that cost obviously gets offset, so really this third we're paying is how much less when we take that into consideration?
I don't have the exact number on me because it really depends, because each officer makes different hourly amounts. And it also would depend on, if they're taking their vacation during the summer and not. But I can tell you, if you can take a chunk out, it would lower that number. I don't know how much. But, obviously, we're a pretty good team. We work together. I mean, I think the majority of us would be willing to say, hey, we're going to take vacations during the summer so we can get this done. But that's definitely a part of it.
Chief Reed, how long has Van Meter normally had this thing?
All of these programs are new. They're all starting this year, last year. And I think, unfortunately, you brought up the Perry situation. Obviously, that is maybe spearheading some of this. And I hate to see that it's come to that, because, we've been trying, and we've had a great working relationship with the school for years, doing training and things like that. But I think that you're seeing more of a push now to say, hey, we got to do something. Let's get someone in there. The state alternative is, I think they're looking at, there's some legislation coming out that's going to give them some money for like security, so they can hire, an armed security guard. And I think they can maybe apply some of this to an SRO program too. But unfortunately, the cities don't get money from the state to do this, the school districts do.
So how long,
Go ahead.
so obviously if we decide to go with this and we enter this agreement, do we have a 1-year agreement with the city? Is it a multi-year agreement with this?
It would be
Or
reviewable,
sorry, school?
it would be reviewable every year. So, and obviously there would be things that might change, I mean, costs and whatnot, obviously would have to be edited and changed each year and whatnot. I mean, I think, depending on how you look at it, there's all sorts of positive reasons for it, but there's a cost, and that's, we can't get around that.
I think that's the biggest thing that we're having to deal with. One question I know you said you had some other contracts. I don't know if you've really looked deeply into them, but the ones where the school paid 100%, did they allow the officer to respond to police emergencies?
I don't know that I've seen every single one have that, but I would definitely review it and see. I do know, I can say this, I don't think there was any that I read that off the top of my head that where they were strictly full-time employees for the school. I mean, every one of them, they recalled back into the summer. They were part of the, patrol staff during the summer, that kind of stuff. And all the ones that we looked at, I don't want to call them all small because, but they're not like, we're not talking like Des Moines. We're not looking at their stuff. We're looking at what Adams County was one of them. Adele, Adams County, Hudson.
I picked those specifically because it's
Glenwood.
not fair to compare us to Ankeny.
Sure,
or,
and we don't want to
the
do that.
metro. So, Hudson had started this years ago, and I went to the academy. Adams County's Corning Williston School District, not too far. I talked to Earlham just because I know their SRO. So, fortunately, I ran after Perry. I got multiple calls from a few agencies saying, "How did you do it?" Which I think we were proud of that because they're like, you guys have done this for a while, because this is my 5th year in the school.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see people reaching out to us saying, how did you guys do this? Other cities are striving to get these things accomplished, and we've already accomplished them. And so I think, I bring this up in other areas, our goal, I know with the officers we have right now, our goal is always to try to offer services that others don't provide. I mean, if you look at our little department, canine program, drone program, that even our counties aren't offering all of those individual services. And I don't say that to spite them. I'm just saying we're offering quite a bit of services, and we don't typically ask the city to cover much of those expenses. But in this case, we can't come up with the funding for this type of program on our own.
I think Christina made a good point, and I'll let you brought something up because I would never have thought of that. I mean, that's something viable to check into on that. Also, and I don't know if any other council member is interested, but I am, could you send like a couple of those contracts?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of a nerd that way.
Yeah, no, I
like
get it.
to look at stuff. I don't know if the rest of them want to, but.
What we could do is just email them to Sarah or Ash, and then they would be available to you guys.
When was the school on the start date?
Well, and that's
this year, or
that's kind of up in the air. I don't think we really have decided that because we kind of figured there'd be some back and forth and negotiations and whatnot. I think the goal would be to get it started for next.
I should say better next year, yeah, for sure. So that gives us a little time.
Yeah.
On it, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be all for, and I think, I don't want to speak for Katie, but I mean, if we had to go to council meetings in those other communities or whatnot, I think we'd be all for that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think the other towns would be more than willing to pay, but it helps ease the cost to make it.
Right. They're gonna be in that town.
Well, their kids.
They want their kids protected just as much as we do.
They'll be in the school, and I agree with you, but we gotta be careful because she doesn't have jurisdiction in the city of Dexter.
Well, yeah,
She
that's, I
won't be
didn't
over
mean
there
the
as a.
whole, I didn't mean that.
I just wanna make sure anybody
Sure.
listening
No,
didn't hear
you're
that
good.
wrong.
You're good.
We're not trying to step on Dallas County's toes. They do a great, phenomenal job. Problem with having community SROs involved is you don't build that relationship like she has. And so, I think what we have going right now is great that we have one SRO for the whole district. And I don't think any one of us were looking at this. And I don't think Dallas kind of sees it this way, that we took it from them. I think we all are in agreement. But I just wanna make sure that if we go to, say, Menlo or Dexter, that they're not under the impression that we're gonna be providing them police services.
Right.
We're only gonna be providing them an SRO in their school.
Right, no, I agree, that's good. Is this something you can work with, to coordinate?
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely, he's more than welcome to come and sit with me. He has, but we didn't talk into details, you know. I'm willing to sit with Dave and work the details out. You know.
especially help
Especially
with the other cities if
Yeah,
if you need some help and stuff.
absolutely, yeah.
have that.
Dave, I have a good relationship.
So Dave, if you can get contracts to Sarah, so they, all the council, myself, and then we've got a meeting the 25th, and possibly we can revisit this.
Any other questions while we're here about the program or?
Thank you.
Yeah, another quick question.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so obviously you're talking about during the summer, the SRO would come back on the police force. I mean, is that also the same during any normal scheduled school days off, spring break, all that good stuff? Whenever
Yeah,
it is?
the contract is really, I mean, they got down to 34.4 weeks of the year. That's why it's 2.1, so a third of the year, I'm back on patrol. So yeah, I'm not there. You know, they don't, you know, it's first day of school, the last day of school. You know, holiday breaks, I come back.
But are they paying that 66 even during the out of school?
Yeah, quarterly.
Is that-
Basically,
I just
figure
wanna
out
be
the
sure that-
34.4 is the days that actual students are in the building. That's when
Yeah,
I
so
would
the
be there.
agreement would be that she would be at the schools every day that the students are at the schools. They're willing to pay 66% to have that. The days that students aren't in schools, she could utilize her vacation days, vice versa, or we could pull her back if we need to. And there's things, especially in the summertime, that's why I like this, because during the summer when we're busy, maybe we've got investigations or something that we're trying to work on that take more than one officer to kind of handle. It gives us an extra pair of hands to do that stuff. So, you know, it kind of gives us the extra help when we need it, and then gives them the help when they need it. And it benefits both the city and the school district, really.
We'll work out the details. I can't give you a clear answer on my side, but I have to look at the proposal, and I have to look at the money. And who's paying what, all these things. I think when I sit with Dave and Kate, we'll be able to talk more and get back to more information.
Because even if we could get down to, you know, maybe some of the other cities are willing to help fund some of this, and then you look at the vacation time and stuff like that, and we could probably get this down to almost nothing. But it just
That's
depends
the
on.
hope, you know, hoping we can get to this point.
That's
So I'll work with you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
Okay, Student Economic Development Director, Matt.
Okay, well, thank you. Wanted to start off that, for the All Saints Housing Development, currently we're down to 2 remaining lots 25 and 33. This winter, we've seen a surge in interest in the housing development. I say this is likely due to the collaboration that SEED has had with the builders and real estate agents. And I believe it has a big part to do with the social media videos that have been distributed. All Saints Lot 33, though, has received some interest. However, home builders are hesitant to take a risk on constructing on that lot with the attachment of a stormwater retention basin. Builders are asking if the stormwater retention can be severed from the buildable portion of the lot. Phase 4, Normal 3, construction activities continue to be suspended for the winter. SEED has approved the final plat map, which will now proceed to the Planning and Zoning Board for review and then subsequently to the City Council.
Is there a date for the planning and zoning, you looking at that plat?
Yeah.
Have you set it up?
Wednesday.
This Wednesday? Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say March 20th?
Yes.
Then I'm hoping we can get that on the agenda for the City Council meeting on the 25th. Okay. Marketing, as Nate had mentioned earlier, the videos have reached 23,000 Facebook users and 7,200 people have visited the city's Facebook page. As you had pointed out, Hoyer, that's a big number. I understand that people are worried about the cost of that, but there's no way I can reach out to 7,200 people and have a personal conversation with them to brag about the city. And I know that, people have told me, my wife is one that's told me, you think you're cool. No, I don't think I'm cool. These make money. 7,200 people looking at the city's Facebook page. 7,200 people. That's developers, it's builders, it's business entrepreneurs. People looking for a new home, a new community to live into, to move to. I can't talk to each 7,200 people and tell them how great Stuart is. So I think it's a phenomenal, I think it's working great. I think it's the best bang for the buck. It's very hard to sell though to you because you want something quantifiable. You want to see that 7,200 people. The numbers are there. So that's all I have on that at the moment. Thanks for listening to me about that. The Iowa Living Roadways Community Visioning focus group was on the 24th of February. So I think we had a good turnout on that. And, Brad Riphagen, spoke with him on the phone, said we got, it yielded valuable information from the participants. This will be summarized by the university staff within 6 weeks. In the meantime, Brad Riphagen will schedule a meeting with the Iowa DOT, Stuart Street Department, and Guthrie County and Adair County Roads Departments in late March or early April to address potential transportation improvements, areas of concern, and future plans. Then they will bring that information to us and schedule a meeting with the steering committee in late April or early May. And then we're going to have the third Women's Entrepreneurial event, April 24th. That's the Empower Her Summit for Women Entrepreneurs. And Debbie Durham, Director of the Iowa Economic Development Authority, has graciously accepted the invitation to be a speaker. Any questions?
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Okay, public forum, I've got one announcement, is Stuart Town cleanup dates are gonna be April 26th and 27th, hours to be announced, hopefully by March 25th meeting, I can have that. My brother, myself, Molly Dolch, and the FFA kids are heading this up again this year. And Corey Geisinger is gonna provide the dumpster.
Okay, I'd just like to read a little something I think is appropriate since Matt just. So, I'd just like to take a moment to commend for work done above and beyond expectations and volunteerism. Matt Funk has done some really nice things as our economic director. Matt, think about. The persistence required to acquire Quick Start paid off. The company has started construction and Matt drove this initiative. Matt is also available for consult during weekends and attends many meetings representing the city tirelessly. Matt has also recently acquired another builder for housing who sold a couple of new homes and building more. Thanks, Matt. I'd also like to thank the extra efforts the mayor extended for municipal infractions and codes. Especially since it's going to be a little bit. He cares about the town, puts countless volunteer hours to move things forward. Thank you, Mayor. Not least, I'd like to thank Chip Schultz for all the leadership, direction, guidance, and planning he does for the city and utilities. We are truly fortunate to have Chip involved in our community. Thanks. And anybody else that?
5 minutes.
Yes, sign on to that if you.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Have anything?
Thank you.
Anybody have any public forum? Andy? A few minutes. A few minutes.
Take your time.
Right.
So I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but I requested over 10 days ago to be on the agenda, basically to inform the council that's come to light. There is an Iowa code about not being able to evict home-based businesses that was passed in it was effective July 1 of 2022, passed by Governor Reynolds. There's some of the details. Code. Just basically the criteria of what a home-based business is. The only thing that you hang me up on is probably the compatibility, which I've also attached a support petition from all of my adjacent neighbors. All in support, not a nuisance. I was basically getting it on the agenda just to announce that because of this code, I feel I should be able to operate. Because I am compatible in the neighborhood, not a nuisance. Half the people on that list didn't even know I ran a body shop out of my garage. That's what I explained when I was at their doorstep for. So.
Anything else, Andy?
Well, that's what, and I never really even got a reason why I wasn't put on the agenda. I just was told it was a legal matter. But I wasn't on the agenda already. I did this over 10 days ago.
Well, advice from our attorney, which he's left. No comment.
And he also advised me that it wasn't his decision, that I needed to talk to Ash. I came down and talked to Ash, and he told me it was your decision to hold me off the agenda.
I talked to the attorney. We're not gonna discuss this.
But,
No, you gotta discuss it.
No, that's what we're here to do,
That's
is
right.
discuss it. See, because here's the problem that I have. All right, ever since that you got that HOA out there, what you've done is literally put your thumb on everybody else because you got them in an HOA. You know, we ain't messed with nobody on our block. Nobody said nothing about nothing. Then you go off and nail my kid that hasn't even owned his house for 6 months. Send him a letter with 2 feet of snow. Hey, get rid of this boat that was the previous owner, which they had an agreement to get rid of. And you even said it for yourself. You don't care about the individual, you care about the collective. Now, you guys are doing a great job for the most part. Don't get me wrong. You guys have really brought this place up and beyond. But really, when you start forgetting about the single individual person that's paying your guys' taxes so you guys can do all this stuff, you guys are literally kicking us in the teeth. So why would anybody want to come here if they got to live with their thumb underneath of you? And plus, here, if you want to talk about cleaning up areas, why don't you clean up the mess from the water pipes you done?
So yeah, basically, I just wanted to address that. You know, I haven't. I mean, what you guys see is what I explain to you when I've come to the meetings. And I know the last time I was here was last August. And that was because I was on the July agenda that I was not informed of that I was put on the agenda. This was the third time that had happened. I mean, I haven't got any kind of a fair shake out of you all along in all of this. Thank God the councils supported me throughout this and the people.
And I gotta ask too, this guy has been fined over and over and over. And if he's been fined for what? What is his crime against his neighbors that he gets fined?
Unlawfully fined.
Exactly.
Being
You guys set
found
up a number, and it don't even go along, the punishment don't even fit the crime. Okay, if somebody's got a car or some trash out there, chances are they can't afford to pay for it to get rid of it anyways, and yet you guys just want to make revenue off of it. Have you ever asked anybody, hey, can you clean that up, maybe for your own neighborhood? Because I guarantee you haven't called us, because we'll do it in a second. I mean, we run around cleaning up the neighborhood after a storm, and they ain't even got to be asked.
I think you're doing a good thing with Jim taking over because he's gonna situationally
Exactly.
know people in the community. And that's what it takes, somebody to knock on the door. I think that's a good thing.
That's all that had to
If
be
you guys
done.
continue that,
Is a
that's
knock
gonna be a
on the
good
door.
thing.
He
Because,
didn't need no certified letter.
because people, sometimes they just can't do it, man. They get offer them a hand. We used to, Corey, when we was kids, you know that.
And that's the
Our
way I
parents
raised
help
my
people
kids
out.
to be.
So back to the point at hand, you know, back in August, you guys voted against my extension because you said you wanted to be fair for everyone. There is a lot of in-home businesses in this town, and I get it. There is in the code, it says auto repair businesses, but I'm no more of a nuisance than any other one of those businesses around. Heck, people don't even know I'm open.
As a neighbor, I demand you give him his money back for stealing it in the first place.
That's besides the point. I just, I wanted to let that be known at the public forum, because Ash said I could be heard, and that I tried to be on the agenda to at least bring this to light, so.
Will you vote to give the man his money back that he didn't deserve to get taken? He didn't break no laws.
We done public forum, you can't vote on it.
That's why you denied the agenda. So
Yeah,
you
that's
couldn't vote.
yeah, so they couldn't vote. So are you gonna put it on the agenda that the guy gets his money back because you stole it from him? There wasn't no crime. Nobody was hurt. He does the neighborhood good. He brings in business. People like having him there. Sorry you got butt hurt over it.
So all of the other businesses that are operating out of the residence, just like your son-in-law, prior, they would have to have filled out this and gone to a board of adjustment to operate out of their home. Which I could have done, but, you know, I was coming to the council and trying to get along and get there and everything, but, you know, speaking of treating everyone fairly, you know, I still own the lot, I still have plans to build. It costs a lot of money. It costs tens of thousands of dollars for a commercial permit to build. How much did his permits cost when he built his two buildings? So how is it fair to me that I have to do all that? And I'm not a nuisance, just like him. You know, nothing against Casey. He's a great guy, I like him. But how is it fair that you get to target just me and let everybody else operate when they're not nuisances just like me?
I have no comment. This is our lawyer's end.
Fantastic.
If there is no lawyers in this, because this is where you want to go, we can, as a family, because that's how we stick up. There is a law in the books, and I think you council guys need to be aware of what he's getting into. Out of what he's done for a lot of people, against a lot of people. I mean, it really is. I mean, I did not know Marty's property. $28,000, right?
Yeah.
What happened to it after that?
Sold for $1.
Correct. Then what? With what agreement? It's $28,000 of flushed taxpayer money. Because you thought you needed to put your finger on somebody and clean them up.
Here's the thing.
It's gonna
you gave me
continue.
the property.
I'm just saying,
free.
like telling somebody to clean up their sticks when there's 20 inches of snow on the ground, come on. I mean, we're not that, you guys aren't that community. I don't live here. I do own part of a house here, yes. This is where I grew up, this is where I came from. You guys are better than that. He is too. And I've known Dick a long time because he went to school with Dad. And if Dad was around, we wouldn't have this problem. Because there would be a lot more crazy stuff going on as far as you wouldn't be doing what you're doing to him. And you know that, Dick. You rode to work with Dad for years, right? Correct. Family, friends. And this is where you've got to.
So is that
You're hassling people with their own money. Literally. Knock on the door, man. Take your mower. Go mow their yard if they need it. Help out. I mean, that's what our parents did. Why have we got to the point where we can't knock on somebody's door and just talk to them? You haven't once been down to talk to him. Never called him, never emailed him. Half the council that you've had up here don't even know half the things that you've done to him. Do they know that you went and talked to the owner of the building that he was trying to buy and you give him cold feet? You got in the middle of him trying to buy that if you were buying a business building. He went and talked to Katie on his own. Is that fair? Gave him cold feet. He jacked the price way up.
And then you got seed funding that I know you got a thing in. You give him 10 payments? Unheard of. Because why? Oh, yeah, it's Andy. This needs to stop. It just needs to stop. It needs to stop for everybody. Just make it better, but don't hassle people where you're using their money to hassle them.
Your codes only work if we follow along with them.
It's
And
just-
they went over bounds and went over reach. We're not following along with them no more.
Man, I've watched council meetings for 5 years. Ever since you've had it on air, I've watched every one of them. Every one of them, start to finish. You guys, you're better than that. You're just better than that.
Anything else?
I know.